By the end of this video, I'm going to tell you the one thing that almost no doctor ever brings up when they talk to patients over 60 about food. It's not a supplement, it's not a medication, and it's not some exotic superfood you've never heard of. It's something far more unsettling, and once you hear it, you will never look at your grocery cart the same way again. But first, let's talk about 7 foods that are sitting in millions of homes right now. Foods that get labeled healthy. Foods that your neighbor eats. Your doctor might even recommend. Foods that carry 0 warning labels. Because here's the brutal truth. After 60, your body is not the same machine it was at 40. Your kidneys filter blood more slowly. Your immune system responds less aggressively. Your gut microbiome shifts. The enzymes that break down food quietly decline. What your body handled easily at 35 becomes a real physiological problem at 65. And the foods that seem perfectly harmless? They're the ones doing the most damage, precisely because nobody's watching them. Let's start. The first food is one that almost everyone over 60 has in their fridge right now. Deli meat. Turkey slices, ham, salami, packaged lunch meat of any kind. You'd never guess this is a problem because it's lean, it's protein, and it looks completely wholesome. But here's what's actually in those neat little slices. The World Health Organization's International Agency for Research on Cancer has classified processed meats as a Group 1 carcinogen, the same classification as cigarettes. Not because they're as deadly as cigarettes, but because the evidence linking them to cancer is equally solid and undeniable. Specifically, eating even a small amount of processed meat daily, we're talking 1 hot dog, a couple of slices of deli turkey, raises your risk of colorectal cancer by 18%. And after 60, your colon lining is already thinner, your cellular repair mechanism slower, your body's ability to flush out nitrites and preservatives much weaker. These meats are loaded with sodium nitrate, a chemical preservative that the body converts into nitrosamines, compounds directly associated with tumor formation. The protein looks good on the label. The chemistry behind the label is a completely different story. The second food is something you probably eat for breakfast, believing it's one of the healthiest things you can put in your body. Flavored yogurt. Not plain yogurt. Flavored, sweetened yogurt. The kind with the fruit on the bottom. The kind that gets marketed to women as a weight loss food. The kind that carries pictures of strawberries on the packaging. 70% of all yogurt sold in grocery stores is this type. And here's what most people don't realize. This yogurt contains more sugar per ounce than ice cream. More sugar per ounce than ice cream. A 2022 study published in the journal Nutrients found that regular high-sugar yogurt consumption in adults over 60 was associated with elevated blood triglycerides and increased insulin resistance. Why does that hit harder after 60? Because insulin sensitivity naturally declines with age. The pancreas is already working harder. Dumping 20 to 30 grams of added sugar into your body first thing in the morning doesn't just spike your blood sugar. It triggers a cascade of inflammation. It disrupts your gut bacteria, and it sets up a roller coaster of hunger and fatigue that lasts all day. The yogurt itself is fine. The food companies did a masterclass job of ruining it. The third food is one that shocks almost everybody. Fruit juice. Not soda, not energy drinks. Fruit juice. Orange juice, apple juice, cranberry juice. The stuff doctors told your parents to drink when they were sick. The stuff that's been on the breakfast table of every household in the Western world for 70 years. Here's the problem. When you juice a fruit, you strip away the fiber. What's left is essentially liquid sugar, fructose, that hits your bloodstream within minutes, faster than a candy bar. A study in JAMA Internal Medicine tracked over 13,000 adults and found that people with the highest fruit juice consumption had a significantly higher mortality risk compared to those who ate whole fruit. And for people over 60, the liver's ability to metabolize fructose is slower. The result? Higher blood triglycerides, greater fat accumulation in the liver, and a raised risk of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Not a single warning label, not a single red flag at the checkout counter, because it says 100% natural on the bottle. The fourth food is one that has been genuinely marketed as a health food for decades. Granola. Granola bars, granola cereal, granola mixed into smoothie bowls and parfaits. It sounds like nature itself put it together. Oats, nuts, honey, dried fruit. It's practically a trail mix. But look at the label on almost any commercial granola, and you'll find somewhere between 12 and 28 grams of sugar per serving. And let's be honest, nobody eats just one serving. That dried fruit alone contains concentrated fructose at levels that would never exist in a piece of whole fruit. The oats themselves raise blood sugar rapidly because they're processed and rolled to the point where your digestive system barely has to do any work. A 2021 study in diabetes care tracked over 5,000 adults aged 60 and older and found that those who ate refined grains more than once a day were 27% more likely to develop type 2 diabetes. Granola, in its commercial form, is essentially refined grain and sugar wrapped in the aesthetic of a nature hike. The homemade version made with minimal sugar is a different conversation entirely. The box at the grocery store is not your friend. The fifth food is one that's become a staple in so-called healthy eating, and it's causing a specific, serious problem for millions of people over 60 that almost nobody talks about. Grapefruit, or grapefruit juice. You might be wondering, grapefruit? A fruit? How is grapefruit dangerous? Here's how. Grapefruit contains compounds called furanocoumarins, and these compounds block an enzyme in your gut called CYP3A4, an enzyme responsible for metabolizing a staggering number of prescription medications. We're talking statins, calcium channel blockers for blood pressure, blood thinners, certain antidepressants, immunosuppressants, and more. When grapefruit blocks that enzyme, these medications build up in your bloodstream at levels far beyond what was prescribed. The FDA has an explicit warning about this, and the alarming part is that the interaction can last up to 72 hours from a single glass of grapefruit juice. One glass of juice on Monday morning can still be affecting your medication levels on Wednesday. The majority of people over 60 are on at least one of these drug categories, and a significant portion of them have no idea their otherwise healthy glass of juice is creating dangerous drug concentrations in their blood. The sixth food is one that lives in virtually every kitchen cabinet in the world: table salt. Specifically, the way it hides in foods you'd never suspect. Not the salt shaker on your table. The sodium buried inside canned soups, canned vegetables, store-bought sauces, bread, breakfast cereal, even cottage cheese. The average American over 60 consumes somewhere between 3,400 and 4,000 milligrams of sodium per day. The recommended limit is 1,500 milligrams for people over 60, according to the American Heart Association. That's less than half of what most people are actually eating. Here's why this matters so much specifically after 60. The kidneys lose roughly 1% of their filtering capacity per year after 40. By the time someone hits 65, they're working with kidneys that are meaningfully less efficient than they were 25 years ago. Excess sodium can't be cleared fast enough. Blood pressure climbs. Blood vessels stiffen. The risk of stroke rises with every extra gram. A 2019 study published in the New England Journal of Medicine estimated that excess sodium consumption was responsible for nearly 1.8 million deaths globally per year. The salt shaker isn't the villain. The villain is invisible, sitting inside foods that carry zero visual warning, foods you'd eat on any normal day. The seventh food, and this one genuinely surprises people, is white rice and white bread when eaten together with other foods in the way most people actually eat them. Not as rare treats, as daily staples, as the base of every meal. These are refined carbohydrates, and after 60, their impact on blood sugar is dramatically amplified because the body's insulin response has already slowed down. But here's what most people don't know. It's not just about blood sugar spikes. A study published in Cell Reports Medicine in 2023 found that diets high in refined grains in older adults were associated with accelerated cognitive decline. Specifically, a measurable loss of processing speed and working memory over a 5-year period. The mechanism is linked to chronic, low-grade inflammation caused by repeated glucose spikes. Every time blood sugar spikes sharply and crashes, it triggers a mini-inflammatory response. Over years and decades, this inflammation contributes to both cardiovascular disease and neurodegeneration. Your brain pays a price for every unnecessary blood sugar spike. White rice isn't a poison. Eating it occasionally is completely fine. Eating it twice a day as your primary carbohydrate source after 60 is accelerating a biological process you can't see and can't feel until it's already well advanced. Now, I told you at the start of this video that there is one thing doctors rarely mention when they talk to patients over 60 about food. Here it is. And it's not a specific food. It's a concept. It's this. The danger zone after 60 is not the food you know is bad. It's the food you've been told is fine. The foods on this list: deli meats, flavored yogurt, fruit juice, granola, grapefruit, hidden sodium, refined carbs. None of them carry warnings. None of them are demonized by mainstream nutrition culture. Most of them are actively marketed as healthy choices. And that is precisely why they do so much damage. Because you let your guard down. Because you feel virtuous eating them. Because when your doctor asks if you're eating well, you say yes, and you mean it. The biology of aging is relentless. After 60, your body loses the metabolic buffer that protected you for decades. The liver is slower. The kidneys filter less. Insulin sensitivity is down. Gut bacteria are less diverse. The immune system is quieter. Every one of those foods hits a body that is already working harder just to maintain baseline function. And most people have no idea because nobody told them. Not in a real way, not with the specificity it deserves. So here's what you actually do with this information. You don't panic. You don't throw everything out. You read labels, specifically looking at sodium content and added sugar grams, not just calories. You swap flavored yogurt for plain Greek yogurt with real fruit on top. You replace fruit juice with water and eat the actual fruit. You check every single medication you take against a grapefruit interaction list because your pharmacist has one and will give it to you in 30 seconds. You make the small swaps that compound over time.